Hey everyone, I'm going to just give a little introduction as people are jumping into our first Common Ground community forum. So we'd like to continue this tradition of creating these. Hi, Carly. We'd like to continue these traditions of having these little half-hour to hour-long community sessions where we get to talk to different tap dancers about certain topics relating to tap dancing. And today we're going to be talking with Shelby Kaufman about tap floors and also about Miller and Benz. Hey, Nicole. Oh, Shelby's trying to find where to request. Okay, Shelby, at the bottom right, I believe, or top right. Sorry, my interface is a little different. I can just send you what I'm doing right now. Hopefully you'll see that pop up. There you are.
I think it worked. Yay.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Justin?
I'm really good. It's so nice to see you.
Nice to see you. It's nice that social media keeps us connected right now.
It's true. Yes, yes, it does. In ways that I think we never thought it would.
Truly, yes. Absolutely.
But I am just want to give a little introduction about you. I mean, you have been in the tap community for quite some time, and I really met you through Jermaine Salzberg and that kind of crew of people. And you've presented choreography for an event that I've done, and we've tap danced together. We've really just always been crossing paths, and I continually go onto your YouTube page, which is just chock full of information. I put the link to that in our link in bio on our Common Ground Instagram page.
Thank you. I appreciate
There's so many things. You do like tap tutorials. You do reviews on shoes. One of them I watched, and while we're here, is you did a review on some tap floors. So I encourage everybody to check out what you do online.
Thank you. That's so nice of you. I appreciate it.
Of course.
So I also
go ahead.
appreciate everything you're doing as well. So
oh, thank you. Yeah,
I love that you're putting classes out right now and doing things like this. I mean, you're doing an incredible job of keeping the community together right now. So
thank you. That means a lot. We're all doing our part, and you being here is helping that. So since we have limited time, I want to just dive right in. I have a slew of questions from people, but first I wanted you to just jump in by talking about the two tap floors that you reviewed on YouTube and just giving us a little sense of what those were.
Yeah, so it's funny actually because I've been back and forth between New York and my parents' home where I grew up in Michigan, and so I've never used both boards in the same room, which is odd, but I still think I've done enough Zoom teaching to have my opinion about them. So the two boards that I reviewed were the Omara. Well, so specifically, my review was about travel tap boards. So in this room behind me, and I'll move my phone around so you can see what I'm talking about. But in the room that I'm in Michigan, I have the Omara extra large travel board, which is, I believe it's a 34-inch by 34-inch board. So just under 3x3. And then on the other side of me, which I'll show you also, is my stationary 3x4 Omara board. And so I kind of stick them next to each other and act like they're one board, even though they don't actually connect together on purpose. Cool. And then in New York, I have a fast foot board, which is a little bit smaller than my travel board here. I think it's a 27 by 35. So it's just under 2 feet by just under 3 feet. And so I'm sorry, just over 2 by just under 3. And so, that board is a little bit more of a rectangle versus the square that I have in here. So if we're talking about what board I like to dance on more, just if I were, going hard and doing my, craziest choreography, I would probably say that I prefer my Omara only because it's better sprung and I have a lot of joint issues and all sorts of things just genetically / being a tap dancer for a living. So for joints, I definitely recommend the Omara. And but by the way, both of them start out slippery. And if you get one and you're nervous about that, they will like get less slippery as you break them in and tap on them. So
Yeah,
don't
thanks
be
for saying
alarmed
that. A
about
lot
that.
of people kind of have that immediate response to a
No,
new
I was
floor
too.
of
I was
like,
like,
oh my
wait, what?
gosh,
Like I've,
I'm
this is
ice
so
skating.
actually, I think I was first introduced to Omara flooring at Motor City Tap Festival, where I've been on faculty for 8 years. And Denise Caston, who puts it on, always puts Omara flooring out for all the classrooms, whether it was at first at Wayne State University's campus, she like laid them on top of their floor. And then now it's at her studio, Tap Dance Detroit, which is completely floored with Omara floors. And so I knew that that was a brand I really trusted before I was having to sort of buy my own. And so that was part of my decision making, is knowing that I enjoyed tapping on those, and that all of our some of our shows they'd actually laid those floors down, and so that's what we had tapped on in performance. And I knew that I really loved the feel of them. And then also they're based in Flint, Michigan, which is where my dad's from, and only an hour from here. So I got my board faster than everyone else during this pandemic, and I was appreciative of that.
That's awesome.
And then my fast foot board, I actually, you know, since we were fast foot without a T, I'm sorry I said that wrong, but fast foot. So no T between the fast and the foot. But actually, we were just talking about how Justin and I danced for Jermaine Salzberg a bit together. So I've been in her company for 13 years. You know, we are incredibly close. I've danced with her forever. And Justin has come in and done some pieces with us. So the piece I'm referring to, Justin actually was not a part of, but we were doing a performance on a floor that we were not allowed to tap on. And we decided we wanted to do this particular show anyway. And so Jermaine bought a bunch of fast foot boards to connect. And we actually kept reconfiguring the boards into different shapes and different ways on the stage. And we danced on those on the stage. And so that was how I first learned about fast foot boards. So I bought one of those many years ago and have had that in my New York apartment the whole time. I just really underutilized it because we weren't in the midst of this pandemic until I went back and then started teaching there. And what I would say about a fast foot, like I said, I prefer an Omara if I'm just talking about what I like to dance on. But there are many different reasons why I would say to get a fast foot over an Omara. And they are, number one, if you're in an apartment and you have neighbors, because Omara's, the way it's sprung makes it so loud, like shockingly, like bone shockingly loud, especially in the room. I mean, I think that's,
as we like to say, it's very live. It's a very live board,
which is an amazing perk.
Yeah.
In certain circumstances. And really, if you want like a gorgeous sound quality, you get that from this little tap board. I mean, you've got it's like, you know, buying, you know, the best violin on the market, except of course we're lucky that these are not millions of dollars. But you know, it's a instrument, and it's a gorgeous instrument. But like anything else, you know, this gorgeous instrument is not going to be appreciated by neighbors in a place like Manhattan. So I've definitely been very grateful that what I've had in the city is my fast foot, because I don't think that my neighbors would have been as accepting of my job if I had been on an Omara in my apartment. And then the other thing I would say is that the Omara is really heavy and really like bulky to carry around. Like it's weighted, whereas I can like throw my fast foot around above my head. Like I can tap, and then if someone needs to see something in like without my tap shoes on, I can literally just like fold it up and throw it against the wall. I can't do that with this board because it's such a more serious, like heavier thing. So to me, they're both extremely beneficial boards, but like I love that I have both because I use them for different reasons. You know?
So you would say that the fast foot board really is good for being in an apartment where you have neighbors who are not thrilled about you being a tap dancer,
yes,
keeping it quiet, kind of keeping the sound a little more muffled, and the Omara is definitely more of a live floor. Would you say that both are equally as slippery when you first get them, or did you find that one was less slippery than another?
I actually think they were both pretty slippery. Something I talk about in my review, which so if you look at that, you'll get more information on this, but you know, because they're portable, they fold, both of them. And right. So when they unfold, they kind of unfold differently than one another. And I find that my Omara lies like exactly flat, even though you can see the crease, and that I can dance like through that without taking notice of that. I feel like because I think they're both kind of similarly slippery, I think I notice on a fast foot where those creases are a little bit more. And that is something that I'm sort of learning to navigate.
Yes.
It's not a bad thing. It's still a beautiful board. It's just that I feel where those creases are. And so like, I don't want to, shuffle into a crease because I'll get my toe a little bit stuck on that one.
Right.
And so for me, the slip effect, I felt more maybe on the fast foot only because of where the creases are. And I was navigating that than on an Omara, I would say.
Now, I think that I have the Omar that you're talking about. This was the one that, the one that
is that the extra large or is that the regular
No,
size?
this is not the extra large.
So you guys, that's amazing because actually I was just going to say like the biggest difference between their two travel boards is size, and Justin's got the small one here. Should I try to lift the big one for you?
Yeah.
Let's see if I can do it.
So this guy unfolds like this, and then it just goes into the creases, and it becomes just one lovely time.
All right, so this is the other size of the exact same board that Justin's holding up. I don't know if you guys can see it, but
right.
And then it unfolds the same way as his does. So this one, like I said, is just under a 3x3.
Right. Yeah, and mine is I think mine is like 2x2 ish. I did not get the coating on it, which
neither did I, and I was debating if I should have.
Yeah, I did not get it, and I actually also got the raw floor. So this, if you see, it's actually the raw version of the floor, which at first I got because I had heard that things were so slippery, and then I have to say I kind of wish that I had gotten the maple because
you didn't even get the maple.
No, I didn't even get the maple. I got the raw. It's a little harder to clean, and it actually kind of got tacky as I tap dance on it more and more, whereas I think the maple would not have gotten that tacky,
The maple's beautiful, but I actually think that Denise told me that the board that she had at Motor City that I loved at first wasn't a maple, and I just assumed it was. So so I got the maple thinking I was going to have the same flooring, and it isn't. So actually, I think you could probably be okay. I know they have an ash and a birch. Do you know if you got one or the other of those?
I think I got the ash because I think that's like the most like the most raw version of it.
Interesting. So mine feels raw. Like, you know how his has divots in it? Mine does too. Like you can feel all of my like tap marks in it because I didn't get that like enamel on top
the
of
enamel, right? That's the other upgrade to do. And I think just
it wasn't on my radar to do that. Was it on yours?
No, not at all. And I've heard people say it's not completely necessary, but it definitely helps clean the board easier. That's the one thing I've heard, is that if you have a Mr. Clean,
the magic erasers though really do work. Like that's
the magic eraser is the way to clean really any professional tap board, especially one that has a coating on it. And I think just to kind of pigeon tail off of what you were saying, the Omara is an investment, and I think anyone who's thinking about an Omara, which their website is sprungfloors.com, sprungfloors.com, and if you are really thinking about that, you are going to be spending anywhere from like $180 to $400 on the floor, depending on what size and all of the extra add-ons that you'd like to get.
Well, a fast foot's up there too, though. A fast foot's, I think,
and it is
200.
It is, yeah. You're absolutely
So I think
right.
both of these choices are if you're gonna put money into a tap board, like either one,
Yes.
Oh, one other thing I wanted to say though is that you can get Omara boards that are not travel, like that don't fold and have a handle, that actually connect, and you can make one large floor out of them. But if you want to make a large floor out of something that does travel, then you have to do fast foot, because the actual fast foot boards that do have a handle and unfold also can connect with one another to create a large floor. So if you like what Jermaine did for her company, if you have to create basically a stage and you want it to be easy to transport over there and easy to quickly configure, then I would say fast foot.
Yeah, I would say for me, because when I got back to New York after our travel, I bought a 3x4 Omara that is not foldable.
Oh yeah, that's what I have right here
Yep.
too.
Yeah. You have the same thing. I thought that's what you had said. Yep. And so I got that because the one thing I will say is I do plan to travel with this floor again in my car, though. It's not a floor that you can like bring on the subway or anything like that. It's right. Nice because it's 3x4, which I like. I like that extra room, so it's to me it was worth it. But definitely more of a floor that you can travel with if you're like putting it in a car or a large taxi van or something like that.
They're asking how much the 3x4 board was, and I'm trying to remember. Do you remember how much it was? It was 3 something, right?
Yeah, I think mine was like 3 $20 or something like that.
Yeah.
But if you go into sprungfloors.com, the one that we both have, I
Oh,
believe.
something else to show you guys actually
Yeah.
while I'm in this room with this is in the travel board world, they also come, you have to buy them and they're like over $100, but they also come with these huge
Oh,
travel
yeah.
bags that you actually
Travel
can,
bag,
like, it
yes.
actually has a space here for the handle. And
Yeah.
you know how we were talking about how tap boards get really dirty? Is that's like a way to like walk around with it and like let it touch like your clothes without getting tap soot all over it too.
Yeah, because it does
They do have that option.
it is dirty. Like if it touches your clothes or something, in the car.
You don't even want to like put your hand on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to quickly talk a little bit about, because a lot of people asked about making a board, what kind of what kind of wood you would use to make your own, and then also what you would put underneath it. So I was going to just kick it off, and then if you want to just kind of, pigeon tail off of me. So what I find is the problem with people making their own tap board is that they assume if they just get a piece of plywood and put it down, especially on a flat surface, not a carpet, but like a hardwood floor. Number one, there is the danger of it scratching your floor because there's nothing underneath it. So you've probably seen a lot of people online putting blankets underneath it or a comforter or something to kind of help it not do that. And then number two, a lot of times this plywood, especially thinner plywood, will bow, right? So you're gonna leave it alone, maybe even in your house, if there's heat or air conditioning on, it can make the wood slightly bend. So then you go to tap on it again and you kind of have this concave floor that no longer is flat. So I have these three things that I just will bring up, and then Shelby, you probably will have other things to say. But number one, if you are gonna just do a piece of plywood, like go to Home Depot and get something, do get something a little thicker, right? Definitely thicker than, a 1/4 inch or thicker. Because the weight will help it not bow. And I always recommend, if it's possible, I know it's harder to lay it flat, but to lay it flat, stick it under your bed and let it lay flat. Don't sit it up straight, because that's when it starts to bow.
Interesting.
Or lay it down and put things on it so that it doesn't do that. Number two, if you want to be crafty and you have some time, you can simply take a yoga mat, or you could even purchase those yoga puzzle mats, how they like kind of fit together. And I've seen a lot
like what you would do for like a baby.
Right, exactly. Yep. That have like the ABCs on them.
Yeah.
You can just take those and buy some spray adhesive at a Home Depot or something, and you can actually glue it onto the wood. And then you have now this nice padding underneath that is not going to shift while you're tapping on it, and it's also not going to scrape the floor. And then you can also, if you are handy and can, or know someone who can cut wood for you and help you, you can cut 1x3s. So just small little beams that you're then going to place on the bottom of the floor of the plywood. And you don't even need to nail or screw anything in. You could literally take wood glue and put it all the way down the 1x3, and you're basically just making strips right down your floor, and you're going to glue it on, and you're going to flip it over and probably put something on it so that glue sets and dries. And then if you want to, what I did recently was I cut a yoga mat to fit perfectly on those 1x3s, and I just glued that also with wood glue onto those 1x3 slats so it didn't move or shift or scrape my floor. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
you're definitely much craftier than I am.
Well, it's also about the amount of time, and having ADD definitely makes you go, what can I do today? But I found that was really helpful. And also too, just really quick, these things are readily available from like a Home Depot, and you could also do something like this, where you just get these foam discs. Yep, and you can just glue those all around the floor, and then that way you've got a little spring and you've got a little space between the floor and your floor, and it helps.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is if you look at the bottom of an Omara, which Justin and I were kind of showing you a second ago, it's just literally like thick foam pieces that are keeping the floor from the tap floor from the floor. And, it's not that you couldn't do that yourself if you wanted to with a beautiful piece of wood, and you just have to, get the right density foam, I would say. and
Exactly.
make sure it's evenly spaced out, like Justin was saying, so it doesn't bow in weird spots. And then you really
Right.
have something similar
Yeah,
handmade.
exactly. And but you're so right. You don't want to step on your floor and feel it give too much. You know that you
Right.
need to put more of those dots, or as I said, I think the slats are really great. So if
That's
you,
actually a really cool idea. I never would have thought to do it in like straight lines like that, but that's
yeah, just straight
really smart.
lines right across the bottom of it, and basically, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like building a flat in theater. You know, that's why I
Yeah,
thought
I've
of it.
seen so much creative stuff happening lately. I mean, even my students have been getting really creative. Like, I say this in my video, but there's three that have stood out to me of just like people being really creative. One is Philip Atmore, who, if you guys don't know who he is, definitely check him out. He's an incredible tap dancer friend of mine, and he was tapping on a cutting board. He found a wood cutting board that was big enough that he could, tap enough on until he got his board in, and he was dancing literally on a wood cutting board, which I think is hilarious. And then I had students finding signs in their garages and just putting those signs like maybe on top of a blanket, like Justin was saying, and tapping on those. Like they say, like, no trespassing, or this is a happy home, or whatever. And people are dancing on just really funny stuff. I saw a girl dancing on a clipboard. One of my students dances on like an oversized clipboard that actually is like, I don't know, some sort of gag thing that people, I don't know what she actually is supposed to use it for, but she's dancing. I mean, yeah, it's like,
It was
it
like
looks
for
like
a
a huge
production of
paper
Your
cutter
Good Man
actually, and she
Charlie
dances on
Brown.
that. Well, it's really, yeah, people are so creative these days. I think it's pretty amazing what people have figured out how to do in this time frame when we're all sort of dancing at home. And also, I think it has to do with also like the way we choreograph and the way we teach is, no one's really going across the floor anymore. Everyone's sort of focusing on stationary exercises, and so we can still like better ourselves in a limited space. And I just think everyone's really gotten extremely crafty and intelligent and problem solving, and it's amazing, I think, what everyone has done in this time. And I also think that now that we have Zoom, now that we have professional boards at home and all these things, I really think that we can utilize it in a different way even when the pandemic's over. Like I think some doors have opened for us. If someone wants a competition solo from a choreographer who is not planning to come to their state, they can do it through Zoom. I mean, it is pretty amazing what we're capable of doing. I mean, I've been teaching some of my old students that are now in college from their dorms on Zoom, and we can continue to do so even if there isn't a pandemic. I
Yep.
just think it's pretty amazing what doors have opened from all of this.
Absolutely. I wanted to answer a question that Sarah Broadman wrote in. She was asking, should you coat this piece of plywood with anything? I'm going to suggest no, just because I have just found as an amateur, I have no idea what is the right thing. I've as a producer, we've had those moments where the floor was slippery, and we've done things like we will wash it with a little bit of Sprite in the water and
Yeah.
try to do things like that. But I would just suggest, if you're using a piece of plywood, just beat the crap out of it. Just go ahead and beat the crap out of it. I think trying to put a coating on it, unless you know somebody who can like professionally do that for you, may actually defeat the purpose of it. You may find it's tacky.
Yeah, I think so too. And I also, the board in the back, I think you can see it from here, is just literally a piece of plywood that was cut for me at my camp like in 2006, which is ridiculous that I still have it. But there's absolutely nothing on this. And I actually find it to feel nice to tap on. Like, I don't think I would say, people use masonite sometimes. I would say that is really slippery, and I would not recommend like using masonite unless you have to for some reason. But if for something like that, you might want to get creative. But I think as long as it's like a piece of wood, you should just, and you know how Justin said beat the crap out of it? Not only that, beat the crap out of the edges, because I find that people always dance in the middle of a space, and then right when you like get to the outskirts is where you like find yourself slipping. So like I would say be very conscious of purposely tapping like in every little crevice of your board so that it equally becomes less slippery.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I saw some people saying that they tried painting their board and it came off on their shoe. Yeah. I just think like if, unless you're trying to do something, you're trying to really make it pretty for a video or something like that, or, then if you are going to paint it and just like not even coat it, but just paint it, I would say paint it with something matte, not gloss or semi-gloss. Even though semi-gloss and gloss is easier to clean, At that point, I think if you just use a matte finish and you paint it, it's just going to be less slippery and it'll just be a little easier and may not get on your shoe as much. But I would recommend matte, a matte paint. That always helped us for our tap shows when we would bring in a masonite floor. We always painted it with matte. And it
there's also like little weird tricks. Like, I don't know if you've ever done this, Justin, but like, duct taping your taps.
Yes.
Like if something's that slippery, like until you're used to it or whatever, you literally take duct tape and stick it on your tap.
Yes.
I do not think hairspray works. I actually think it has the adverse effect, even though people say hairspray, but I do not like, that is not my personal recommendation.
Same here.
Yeah, I've heard that one a lot.
Yeah, a little Coca-Cola on the floor, let it get tacky, rub your tap in it, and then go on stage. That I've done that before. Yeah, gaff tape. The problem with that stuff is just that people
get really creative about that.
Yeah, the problem with that is just that you got to be ready for your shoes to get a little messed up because the residue is gonna start to come off. So if you got
I would say an alcohol swab though tends to take that off if you.
What's that, Shelby? What'd you say?
Oh, I was saying if you have residue on the bottom, if you take just like an alcohol pad, it usually gets the rest of the stuff off.
Cool.
I'm not sure. Awesome. Wait, don't quote me on the fact that that's like good for taps. It might not, but
it's probably better than
having the residue if you have to do a show or something.
It's probably better than Goo Gone. Let's say that.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I want to have enough time to talk about some shoes because you and I were talking about some of our favorite shoes, and I think we both kind of agree that Miller and Benz tend to be the shoes that we both individually like.
They're my personal favorite.
Your personal favorite. So why don't you tell us about, you had mentioned 2 shoes to me. Tell me about the 2 shoes of Miller and Benz that you like the most.
So I only have one of them here because like I said, I'm in Michigan and my like tap shoe collection is in New York. But the 2 that I like the best personally, and I really go into detail about all of this on my YouTube channel because like I said, I have a lot of joint problems, foot problems. I feel like I have so many like different little weird ailments that I can kind of tell everybody who has like one of those things what would be best for them. Just, So I might as well, take one for the team and help out. But so this right here is my Jazz Tap Master. Hey. And I really like these ones a lot. And it's interesting because
that's so crazy.
Oh my gosh. Justin, we're so cute. Wait, you guys, that's really weird because like usually people get this with the black sole and we both decided to get it with wood and left black shoelaces. That's
I know.
Really, okay, obviously we're about to do a duet at some point with these shoes. Like obviously. That goes without saying. But so these are my Jazz Tap Masters. And the thing I really like about these, and I know some people say, well, isn't this a bad thing? And to me, it's a great thing, is that it's thick right here. So in a Miller and Benz shoe, specifically, if we're just talking about Miller and Benz, like comparing one flat model to the other, there's a double build here and here and here in a Jazz Tap Master. Sport taps, which are my other favorite, have the double build, but then only a single build in the middle. And then the triple threats have a single build in the middle, but like a triple build on the 2 sides. So for me personally, and I know people that like live and die for triple threats, but for me, that's not where I like the weight of a shoe to be, just for me personally. So I prefer Jazz Tap Masters and Sport Taps. Those are my favorite 2. But I love how thick it is under here. I don't think it gives me any less mobility. I don't think it hinders me in any way. I just think it gives me the support under my foot that I like wish every tap shoe had. So I love them for that. And I need arch support. Oh, by the way, every tap shoe that I wear in Miller and Ben, just so that you have the whole picture, I actually put Birkenstock arch supports in all of my tap shoes. And so everything that I say that I feel in a shoe, just assume that includes a Birkenstock arch support in it because I just love those and I love that they fit in tap shoes. But I think that the support that this gives like as a shoe is so good. And by the way, speaking of like weird tap floors and Jermaine Salzberg's company, the reason I learned that Miller and Benz were my favorite by far is that we had done this like show annually where we went every year and did the same show. And it was on this very like rubbery marley, but also not sprung stage. And I used to just know going in after my first time that it would send shocks up my legs. Every time I did something hard, I got a shock like up my calf into my leg. And I had never experienced that before. And I noticed that it was happening to me every year on that stage. And so I just chalked it up to the stage. And I was like in pain while I was dancing, just having to pretend I was enjoying myself and pretend to be in the moment when I indeed was not. And the first time I got a Miller and Ben pair of shoes and I danced with those shoes on that stage was the first time that didn't happen.
You didn't feel that.
And I was like, oh, light bulb. I need shoes that are fit
I
and
will
supportive
agree with you.
and I learned my lesson the hard way.
I will agree with you. I think that for me, they are. I haven't tried every shoe. You have a lot of reviews, so I really recommend.
I do, but there's a few brands that I haven't gotten.
Right? Yeah, we haven't had a chance to try everything yet, but I will say that these are the most supportive. What I like about the Jazz Tapmaster is exactly what you said, that it has the double sole here. That makes people feel like they're tapping in surfboards at first. I know that a lot of people say that they have a hard time breaking in the shoe. I just think that you just got to get in them and walk around your carpet on 4-starch, releve, and just, you got to work that shoe a little bit.
And you can play with it with your hands too.
Yes, absolutely. You can definitely do stuff like that.
Yeah.
I will say, and I'm just going to throw this out there because I've had many pairs of Miller and Ben's. Now, I know that we both did not get the crown treatment because you can't with these. You can't with the beaten blue colors. Yeah. I will say, I only get Jazz Tapmasters, though I had a pair of Sport Taps and I loved them.
I love
one of my favorite shoes. Sport Tap, one of my favorite shoes.
In a second, I'll tell you what I like better about each. If that's
so now this is the one with the crowning,
the royal. It's called Royal.
The Royal.
You
thank
order
you.
Royal.
Crowning. It's called Royal. Thank you. I do find that when you get that treatment, I do find that the shoe does slightly break in faster, and I feel like the leather is just a little more malleable at first. So that's just my, like if I put on a pair of like the black tap shoes that they sell, the Miller and Ben black tap shoes they sell, like at Broadway Dance Center or at certain little pop-up shops. Sometimes I find those to be a little harder to break in than getting this. So if you have the extra money, I recommend getting the Royal treatment.
So actually, in addition to that, since you brought up black, and actually this came from the mouths of Avi Miller over Ben, they told me, because they know I have all these foot problems since, we know each other and are friends. And what they actually recommended to me, and so I'm going to tell you the same thing, is that sometimes their lighter colors are easier to break in than their darker colors. So if you're a person who has foot problems and are worried about Miller and Ben's because you've heard that they are hard to break in, I have 2 recommendations. The first one is to go a lighter color. And the second one is to either do a beaten leather or a goat leather. So the goat leather choices, which they say is GT in parentheses, are a different kind of leather. So the GT stands for goat leather, just in case I didn't know that until
I didn't know that either.
And so GT leathers are a different leather, and they're softer than the other leathers. And so if you are nervous about a break-in, I would say go light and go goat, and then that would be your best bet in terms of breaking in your first pair of Miller and Ben's.
Awesome.
And then my second thing is, so if your issue with breaking in shoes is that you get blisters on your ankles, then I would say Sport Tap over Jazz Tap, because the Jazz Tap Master is like normal and the Sport Tap is like cushioned right here. So if the heel or the ankle is like what bothers you when you break in a shoe, then I would say Sport Tap. But I also have something else, which is I have blisters on my pinky toes and like a bunion on front. I'm so cute. I know. I can't get over it. Okay.
We're completely transparent here on Community
area of your feet. I actually then recommend Jazz Tap Masters over Sport Taps, because the way that they look like a race car. I wish I had some here to show you, but they have like a thicker piece of leather. Like there's more layers of leather right over the pinky toe in a Sport Tap. And so if something is going to bother me on a Sport Tap, it's my pinky toes. And if something is going to bother me in a Jazz Tap Master, it's my ankle. So it depends on you which one. But like I said, these are my 2 favorite types. But of course, a break-in process in a hard, thick leather shoe is a break-in process. And so if you have like a preference, that's how I would tell you to decide which type to try first.
That's awesome, Shelby. Yeah. Well, listen, that's all we have time for, but this has been the greatest half an hour of information. It's enlightening. You have You have so much insight into it. You are, you are using these products, and so you're really getting a sense of what works for you. And everybody is different, and unfortunately we all don't have the money to buy a whole bunch of different shoes and try them, and
No, absolutely. And that's why I started my tap shoe reviews.
yeah,
Is because I just feel like people should have some information, especially if they can't try things on because they're not like in New York and have access to BDC or, I just think that the more information people can have from their homes, if they're going to order something online, the better,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on today. I really, really appreciate it. And I know everybody else who's watched has appreciated it. We're going to save this to IGTV so that more people can watch it afterwards, and you're welcome to share it as well. And yeah, and if anyone out there has any more questions, feel free to reach out to Common Ground Tap, and hopefully we can help you get your floor and shoe situation going. We're going to continue this community forum and do more talks like this. And certainly, Shelby, you will be somebody that we definitely want to have back because you have a lot of great insights. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I think this is great. I'm going to tune in and see what everyone else has to say about all these other topics. I can't wait to be involved more.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to let you go.
Happy New Year, everybody. And thanks for coming if you're here.
Thanks. Bye. Thank you all for tuning in. That is it for our community forum. We will always be posting something on stories, offering a chance for you to send in questions so that we can have those to ask our guest before the next forum. So keep an eye out on our page for that. And we are just starting to come up with some new concepts for this. So if you have something that you want to hear more about in regards to tap, whether it's tap history, tap amplification, anything like that, questions about Zoom, please feel free to send us a message and let us know. Have not tapped him yet, but I'm hoping to reach out to DeWitt Fleming Jr., who sells a product called Do It Right Tap Mics, and want to bring him on to talk about amplification and how to get a good sound, both on stage and also when you're teaching online for Zoom, our favorite thing to do. Anyway, have a great day, everybody, and hope to see you next time, and hope to see you in class. This is Justin BOCCITTO from Common Ground. Have a good day.